morning, everyone, and welcome to your Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Susanne, and I'm here in our sanctuary at 310 Danforth, enjoying the sounds of people singing from the United Church just outside the window. Talking about singing together, the Spirit Choir will be resuming our Zoom rehearsals on Monday, September 27th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. If you're interested in singing with the choir this year, please contact me at music@nuuc.ca. We'll also have one final song circle while the weather is still good to be singing outside the week before, Monday, September 20th at 7 p.m. at the southwest corner of Withrow Park at Bain and Logan. The federal election all-candidates meeting for the Broadview Danforth riding is happening September 12th, 2:30 p.m. That would be right after our congregational meeting. The candidates meeting is on Zoom, sponsored by our Danforth Multi-Faith Commons. You'll find the registration link to attend in our Monday email. And if you'd like to be a part of our Monday email blast and aren't yet, you can contact office@nuuc.ca to be included. Virtual tour of the Mohawk Institute Residential School on October 5th. That's on Zoom from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. We have all been saddened and angered to hear about so many children's unmarked graves at residential schools. Join our fellow members of the DMC to learn more about it. The Mohawk Institute Residential School is the closest school to Toronto. The tour will cover the school's 140-year history, including interviews with survivors, and will end with a debriefing Q&A session with a staff person from the Woodland Cultural Center. Registration is limited to 40 people, and a minimum of $10 donation is requested. But no one will be turned away for inability to financially contribute. If you'd like to participate, make sure to register, and you'll find that link in our Monday email blast. Neighborhood Picnic, our congregational picnic, welcome back, is going to happen at Withrow Park this year, closest park to our new location. That's happening in a couple of weeks on Saturday, September 18th from 12 to 3 p.m. You're all welcome. We're asking you bring your own food and drink for safety. Rain date for the picnic will be following day, the Sunday afternoon. As I mentioned, we have a congregational meeting next week after service from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. This meeting involves the mediation, resolution, and outcomes. If you'd like more information, you can contact our president, Allison, at president@nuuc.ca. Eighth principle discussion, an online discussion in preparation for the CUC's vote on adopting the eighth principle, which reads, we covenant to affirm and promote individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. That discussion will be happening Tuesday, September 21st from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at this link. If you are at this Zoom link. And if you want more info, again, you can contact our president, Allison, at president@nuuc.ca. And next Sunday, our theme is Home Furnishings, Memories of Home. Our message of inspiration will be provided by our minister, Reverend Wayne Walder, and guest musician Gary Diggins will be joining us. He's a multi-instrumentalist living in Guelph.
Welcome to our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation on Zoom. We welcome you here while we stay emotionally and spiritually close in a times when we need to be physically apart. My name is David Renzetti, and I'm your virtual service leader for today. Our music director is Susanne Maziarz, and our minister is the Reverend Wayne Walder. Zach Getchell facilitates our Sunday Child and Caregiver program and will share a time for all ages from his home. We also have Mike Kosowski doing the Zoom web hosting. We thank them all. Some Zoom etiquette. We now have live transcripts available, If you look on the very bottom of your main Zoom page, along the bottom where the participants and chats are, further to your right, you'll see an option to have closed captioning. Remember, please, to stay muted, unless, of course, you're speaking. Keep chat open for the readings and lyrics, and don't send chat messages to everyone, please. This service is being recorded for the public on YouTube and for our website. Joys and concerns and other personal things will be edited out. If you have further security concerns, please feel free to rename yourself and turn off your video if that's what you need to do. Sacred space and cyberspace are strange bedfellows, and we need your help to bring them together. Now we have nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. Please shut off all your devices, other than this one. This is our threshold moment. Let's enter sacred space. Let us come together now in a spirit of openness. Let us be kind and generous with each other's souls. We'll now have our chalice lighting.
We light this chalice to remember, to light the fire within our own hearts.
We'll now have a musical prelude. Susanne, would you like to introduce it?
I sure would. Thanks, Dave. Good morning, everyone. As we continue on the theme of how love has greater value than money, we open the service today with Can't Buy Me Love, and we're going to continue with a song by Kenny Loggins called Danny's Song. I recorded this along with Sean and Laura Thomas, who I see on the screen this morning. Hello. We continue to make music in isolation as the virus rages on. I look forward to the day when the Spirit Band can gather and make music in our sanctuary again. But for now, Danny's Song. Please enjoy.
People smile and tell me I'm the lucky one, and we've just begun. I think I'm gonna have a son. He will be like she and me, free as a dove, conceived in love. The sun is gonna shine above. And even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey, and everything will bring a chain of love. And in the morning when I rise, you bring a tear of joy to my eyes. Tell me everything is gonna be alright.
Pisces, Virgo rising is a very good sign, strong and kind, and the little boy is mine. Now I see a family where there once was none, and we just begun. Yeah, we're gonna fly to the sun. And even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey, and everything will bring a chain of love. In the morning when I rise, you bring a tear of joy to my eyes and tell me everything is gonna be alright.
Love the girl who holds the world in a paper cup. Drink it up. Love her and she'll bring you luck. And if you find she helps your mind, better take her home. you live alone. Try to earn what lovers own. And even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey, and everything will bring a chain of love. In the morning when I rise, you bring a tear of joy to my eyes and tell me everything is gonna be alright.
Today, instead of our usual land acknowledgement, I'd like to ask that we acknowledge this unfolding tragedy of unmarked graves at the residential school with a moment of reflection or prayer. I've been taught that when I'm overwhelmed by something and I don't know where to begin, that I can start by creating and holding a space. And I would like for us each to do that in our own way. Call it meditation, call it prayer, call it reflection. But I'd like a moment of silence, and I'd like to begin with the sound of a gong and end with the sound of a gong. If you're visiting us for the first time today, we welcome you. We have breakout rooms after the service for you to continue the discussion that might arise from today. If you don't go to a breakout room, our minister or staff member will remain in the main room if you have any questions about us or what it is to be a Unitarian. Our mission here at Neighborhood is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. Our theme for today is the fear and fantasy of money. Traditionally, at this time in our service, we ask you to turn to your neighbor to greet them, but we can't really do that. So what we do is we unmute our devices and switch to gallery view and offer a greeting to those around you. A noise will sound, a chime will sound at the end of this greeting. Go ahead, do that now.
Hi, Yvette.
Hi.
Thank you, David.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Everybody.
Thank you,
Good
Sean
morning.
and
Hi,
Laura.
everybody.
Good
Hello,
morning. So good to be here.
Hi, Cameron.
Hi.
Hi.
so bad.
Wait.
Everyone.
Hi, Suzanne.
Dolly.
Hi, Barbara.
Yes.
Good morning, Bruce.
Invite. Thank you.
Hello, Deirdre.
Moira, you're back.
Hey, Moira.
Hello, Julie.
Two Bruces.
Janet.
Joan. Hi,
Natalie.
Chris.
Barbara.
Hi.
Hi, Janet.
Moira, hi, neighbor.
You big hi.
Hi, Dad. Good to see you.
Now I invite you to join me in reading our opening words, which will now appear on your screen. If you're on a phone and don't know them, just listen to my reading. Let us cast a circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life, a life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. Now, as we hold this place open to grace and insight, please join Susanne for some beautiful music.
Thanks, Dave. Just switch to gallery view so I can see you all. There we are. I hope you'll join me in singing the song Satisfied Mind. The Spirit Band did the song maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. It's a song from the 50s that's been covered by many, many artists, including Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Jeff Buckley, The Byrds. Has a simple melody, so if you don't know it, you can probably join me by the second verse. How many times have you heard someone say, if I had his money, I'd do things my way, but little they know, it's so hard to find a rich man or woman with a satisfied mind. Once I had money, I had fortune and fame, had all that I needed to make a start in life's game. Then suddenly it happened, I lost every dime, but I'm richer by far with a satisfied mind. For money won't buy back your youth when you're old, or a friend when you're lonely, or a heart that's grown cold. The wealthiest person is a pauper at times, compared to the man or the woman with a satisfied mind. When my life is ended and my time has run out, leave them, no doubt. But one thing's for certain, when it comes my time, I'll leave this old world with a satisfied mind. I'll leave this old world with a satisfied mind. May it be so.
I had a recent conversation with a trusted member of our community about how we might approach problems in our lives and in the world from a more spiritual perspective. I'd like to address this today and often this coming year. Spirituality means becoming aware of our perspective and the circumstances of the world more clearly. Although it may occur in meditation or contemplation, the real use of spirituality, I believe, is seeing the world and ourselves more clearly, and then using this insight to act accordingly. To that end, to see the world more clearly, can I ask you to express one of your fears or fantasies about money? A fear about money might be that if we don't have enough, we'll die. A fantasy about money might be the hope that with more money, everything in our lives will be wonderful. A tree, money, easy, just take it. I ask this in order to pull aside the curtain of our fear and fantasies about money, a considerable aspect of most of our lives. Hopefully, like the characters in The Wizard of Oz, once we pull the curtain of our fear and fantasies aside, we can see what we need to do with a calm and open mind, a satisfied mind. This allows us to make more realistic choices about ourselves and the world. I wonder if you can do that now. Write your fear or fantasy about money in the chat. Address the chat to me so no one else sees it and reads it without mentioning where it comes from. No judgments. Put that fear or fantasy of yours in the chat and I will read it out loud just to have it hover in the air so we can think about it. And at the end of the service, all of those will be deleted to the cosmos as soon as the service is over. So I wonder if you can, there. That money or lack thereof dictates my worth. I'm afraid I won't have enough money for my kids. I won't leave enough. My fantasy about money is the awareness of the interdependent web causes the fall of capitalism and greater sharing of resources. I fantasize that I will win the lottery and be able to buy an apartment building to house my friends in need. I have been lucky and have never had any fear or fantasy about money. I always had enough and it was always replenished when I need it. Not having enough to share and donate more freely. Not having enough to retire. Fear of losing my lifestyle. My fear is the future hyperinflation will erode the purchasing power of our savings. Growing old and realizing we don't have enough to live independently. Fear of not having enough money to live on in retirement. Fear of being in debt. Fearing that we need to make as much money as we can to protect ourselves and family from any disaster. Having enough for all and everyone content with what we have. I will make more money, but instead of having more for housing, I fear it'll be eaten up by expenses. I love that I grew up poor. As long as I have $100 in the bank, I'm secure. And now that I'm blessed with a job that comes with a home, I'm near debt-free. Fantasy that I have enough to never worry. I fear that not having enough money means I am not a successful person. Fear that contemplation of money will lead to greed. Thank you.
Okay.
It's now time for Zach to present Time for All Ages.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim, swim, swim. Oh, hello, squid.
Hello, turtle. You may not realize it, but you are swimming into my stretch of the ocean. And if you want to swim in these waters, you are going to need to pay me taxes. So that will be 15 clams to swim across the ocean, please.
15 clams, eh? Oh, let's see what I got. I'm gonna check in my shell and dig around in here. Uh-oh. Hey, squid, I only have 10 clams and an oyster and a mussel. Can I still swim across your stretch of ocean?
No! No, you cannot. It costs 15 clams to swim across my stretch of ocean. You, Mr. Turtle, will have to go find somewhere else to swim. Goodbye.
Oh, no. I guess I'll have to find somewhere else to swim now. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Wayne from your summer away. It's good to have you back. Today's topic is a bit of a tough one, fears and fantasies of finances. It's a tough one for a lot of reasons. It's tough because, as people, we don't really like to talk about our fears, and we definitely don't like to talk about money. And when you put those two things together, it becomes real easy for us to clam up and not be able to talk about it. So for our time today, I'm going to break the ice and tell you my fears and fantasies about money. Now, my biggest fear about money isn't not having enough of it, although that is pretty high up on the list. My biggest fear about money is just money itself and how we as people and as societies react to it. Because of the value that we put on money, the idea of having it or of not having it can drive people to do some very desperate things that they wouldn't normally do. And maybe because of that fear, my biggest dream, my biggest fantasy about money is that the whole thing can just stop. That we as people can decide that it's a broken system that values things more than it values people, and that it adds more ways to separate us from each other than to bring us all together. My fantasy is that we can find and choose a better way to balance the needs of all our peoples. Well, that's my fear and my fantasy. And hopefully knowing mine will make it a little easier for you all to talk about yours. Thank you for listening.
This is a special time in our service when we invite you to share a joy or concern in your life. I see no further hands up, so I would like to light a final symbolic candle for the joys and concerns which remain unspoken in our hearts. And I would now ask Wayne to lead us in a meditation.
So I wonder if you can find a way to just be present in your body, in where you're sitting or standing, It might mean being able to move your shoulders in such a way that they feel more relaxed. I always like to close my eyes, feel my feet on the ground. You might notice where your hands are. And if your eyes still want to open, you may hear things that you would have overlooked. You may feel things that you have ignored. Memories may come. Sometimes it helps if we can remember that meditation's not like entertainment. It's more like dreaming, where you're part of the dream. And any time that we get bored or we feel frustrated or anxious, we just come back to the place of our own body where we're sitting, that our eyes are closed, where our hands are. And then, as we begin to end, we can remember that we can do this. It's not special. Before you brush your teeth, before you fall asleep, as you open your door, when we walk, and then it's over. It's over. But don't snap back. Enjoy something that came. because the enjoyment will make it easier next time. One of my best friends lives in New York State. A few years ago, his brother died and left him his house and some land surrounding it. The house, it's simple, but it's on Lake Ontario with its own waterfront, so maintenance and taxes are expenses. The taxes are over $10,000 per year. The maintenance of the house and the shore after the damage of recent storms cost many times that amount. Faced with these significant costs, his aging, he's 70 now, and some impaired mobility, my friend is feeling pressure from his partner to sell the house so they can use the money elsewhere as they age. His partner is also 70 and still working full time so they can support the cost. She told us that she doesn't want to be working full time. Maybe you've heard a story like this. My friend is a kind, thoughtful, smart, well-educated, and spiritual man. And his response to how to handle his money problem was to buy a lottery ticket. I was baffled. He said he had a good feeling about winning, and that would make the money problem disappear. I hope he wins, but the chances of that are remote. Lottery tickets bought each week simply put off the problem, while no solution to how to pay these yearly costs are being figured out. When I heard his strategy, I didn't say anything, but I knew I had to talk with him about it at another time. When I thought about it more carefully, I can imagine that he does not want to sell that house because it is one of the few connections he has to his deceased brother. I imagine he does not want to sell it because he wants to give something substantial to his two children when he dies. I imagine he does not want to sell it because he believes he will use the beauty of a water sunset that he can see from the dock. I imagine he does not want to sell it because he believes in a few more years it will be worth more. These reasons and reasons like these make us all act irrationally. And often that stops us from acting in our own best interests. Our unconscious fears and fantasies about money cause us to make silly decisions and sometimes dangerous ones. We see it not only on a personal level. Institutions make these very same mistakes. Fear and fantasy about money is no small matter. It creates discord between couples. It causes conflict in communities. It severs families, and it can kill friendship and relationships. According to a recent survey from the CDFA, across North America, money issues are the third largest cause of relationship breakup. My friend added fantasy to his fears about selling his brother's house. The fantasy was that luck will make everything right. If he feels good about being lucky, God or the world will take care of him and his problems. This magical thinking can make us feel good, but you just have to look around the world to see that in places like Afghanistan and Rwanda and Ethiopia, a fantasy that God or earth or life will take care of you is not always true. In fact, it's often not. My friend has done what many of us have done. We all have fantasies and fears about money, and I'm speaking about myself too. It's only when we can pull aside the curtain of our fears and fantasies and see them for what they really are that we can make our best decisions. Sometimes, with insight or with help from our friends and family, we can do this. A spiritual life can help. It can help because it encourages us to meet in that space between right and wrong, good and bad, fantasy and fear, so we can see more clearly and make our best decisions. Our fears and fantasies about money operate here in our congregation too. We sold our old building for $4.8 million. And after paying off debts and paying for the renovation, we're left with about $4 million. We're hoping that as we invest the money, we can use the interest to help us operate our community. But the fears and fantasies we all have about that continue. Some of us may want to safeguard all the money and use it so we can keep the community going forever. If you're one of these people, you might fear the spending of capital will hurt us in the long run. I have been in this place for sure. Others might feel we should spend money on social problems, helping other communities thrive. And if we don't survive ourselves, so be it. I have felt this. And other people feel that we should use the money to bring in expensive consultants to help us do things better because that's how we become a better community. And I have felt this. We may have all fantasies about what we could do with the money we all own together. Give it away, no need to pledge. Other people know more about money, so I'll let them deal with it. These fantasies, and believe me, they can be dangerous fantasies, can create conflict and the silly use of our resources. Just like with my friend, when we have fear and fantasies about money, it can cause us to be wasteful and ineffective in our use of it. So what to do? I think we can start by attempting to make our fears and fantasies conscious. We can say them out loud. I am afraid of. And when we say this, slowly the reason we are afraid comes into view. It might be that we fear loss. It might be because loss brings grief we've not addressed in our lives. If we say, I'm afraid of, it does not threaten anyone. In fact, it elicits their compassion. They might say, what are you afraid of? And this helps us address our own fears. This is the role I am hoping will work with my friend, that by seeing it through my eyes and my love for him and his partner's love for him, he sees it differently through his own. This works with fantasies too. If we say something like, the lottery will take care of my problems out loud, we hear our own fantasy, and hopefully friends and family will hear it too, and they will help us see it so we can act more reasonably. You know, we all have our fantasies. I would love to create a scholarship for high school students with this money we have, a scholarship about how to care for the environment. My fantasy is that we would all do this. The students would benefit. We would see their hopes and dreams for the future, and everyone would have fun. But we all know there are bumps in every road in trying to do things. The fantasy might never happen, not be possible, create terrible results. If I was to get angry that others don't share my fantasy without unpacking the work, the leadership, and the persistence it would take, then my fantasy could be destructive, and we would get in a horrible muddle. Yet if we talk about our fears and fantasies about the money we all own, slowly, we will act more consciously and make the best decisions we can. Fantasies and fears are a potent combination that makes us react, confront, compete, and even run for the hills. Yet we can use each other, our friends, and the good people around us, not to condemn us, not to shame us, not to blame us, but to help us see what we said. It's spirituality in practice. We can do it together. not with guilt, not with anger, but with love. We can be social in spirit. You may know that 10 years ago, the University of British Columbia surveyed more than 100,000 people. They asked more than 100,000 people if money made them happy in a complicated and extensive survey. And they found that there was no correlation, no connection between wealth and happiness. What that means is that people who made a family income of $75,000 were as happy as someone who made $75 million. The study also showed a high correlation, a high connection between poverty and unhappiness. So if you made less than $75,000, you were more likely to be unhappy. The stresses of trying to make ends meet became a constant state of anxiety. This important work of making our fears and realities about money conscious has implications for public policy, for financial planning, for societal development. Little money makes us unhappy, so we have to address this. More money doesn't matter to our happiness, so maybe no one needs to be paid millions of dollars. But this idea can only be considered when we're conscious of our fears and fantasies. The next time you feel a fear or fantasy hovering around your awareness, and I would say that it happens daily, ask a friend to help. Tell them you're in the weeds of your unconscious. Express some thoughts and see if they can help you discern your fears and fantasies about money or about other important life concerns. And maybe this year we can all talk about what the congregation should do with our money and how we might do it together to make our community and the world a better place. If we want the world to change, we must be the change, says Gandhi. Enlightenment, says Jung, occurs when we make our darkest thoughts conscious. I'm here to do that, especially this year. I'm sure it is why you are here too. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Wayne. In these times of isolation, let's not forget that this congregation is a living entity. And like all living things, it must have nurture and sustenance. If you contribute to our organization with pre-authorized withdrawals, thank you. As we contribute to this life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. We can't pass the basket as you usually do, so consider writing a check or even making an e-transfer, which is the most cost-effective way of giving. Consider even setting up a reoccurring gift. A link is in the chat window for you now, and all you have to do is click on it and it'll take you to our donation page. Let's have a little bit of music during the offering.
Oops.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone, for your generosity. Now, Susanne will lead us in our final song.
Thanks, Dave. I was going to ask if everyone could switch to gallery view at this point so we can all see each other to sing this song. We're going to sing together the song that I just sang for the offering. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live, as a mantra for ourselves as a congregation, as we support each other. It's good to see each other's faces, to know who we're talking about while we sing this. I've made an audio recording so you're able to sing along. If you want to try it as a round, I recorded it as a round. The round starts, from you I receive, to you I give. Then you can start, from you I receive, if you'd like to try that. Let's sing together, hymn number 402. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you
We'll now have our chalice extinguishing video.
Although our chalice has been darkened, we hold the fire within our own hearts.
We had a tradition here of circling around and holding each other's hands. Instead, let's go to gallery view and unmute ourselves. And together, let us say to each other, Namaste.
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 Namaste. All.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Good job, David.
Namaste.
Cameron.
Namaste.
Okay. Thank you. That was awesome, guys. Now, for closing words, I'm going to have some words from Elizabeth Warren. She was the one who narrowly missed beating out Joe Biden to be the Democratic leader of in the last election. So she came close to being president. She grew up poor. And she was asked once about how she overcame her fear of poverty. And this is what she said. My response to my fear of poverty was to study. I studied finance and I studied economics. I studied contracts. I learned to plan and to have a goal, to learn everything I could. I always poked at things that scared me the most. I always poked at things that scared me the most. Our service is now ended, and I thank you. For those of you who do not wish to join a breakout room, thanks for joining us today. Everyone else who remains in the main space will be assigned to a breakout room. And today's question we might consider in the breakout room is, tell us a fear or fantasy about money that you have lived in your life. If you are a newcomer to our congregation, just stay in the meeting room by saying later to the request to join a breakout room, and our minister or staff member will be there to talk to you about any questions you might have. Breakout rooms will begin shortly. Go in peace.